Yo, what's good, guys? It's Austin here, or Luna. So today's story time is a scary story, okay? Now, it's not like the type of scary, like in that one story I told a while back about that girl I went on a Tinder date with who was like crazy and did black magic. Not like that. This is a whole different type of scary. Like, I've dealt with people showing up at my front door in the middle of the night, I've dealt with stalkers, and nothing really put fear into me like this did. So this story time takes place in 2016, okay? Now, 2016 was a really awesome year for me, I can't lie. I think a lot of people would agree that 2016 was a pretty good year, but for me specifically, it was like an insanely good year. It was like the first year where YouTube was doing like insanely well for me, and I was just stoked on it. Like, life in general was pretty good, and I had this girlfriend at the time, okay? Now, at this time, I had just started dating her, like, very, very recently, and we dated for a total of 2 months, okay? Now, in that 2 months, this had to be one of the worst relationships I've ever been in my entire life. Like, so much just like arguing and like manipulation from her and things that were just not fun to deal with. So finally, after 2 months of it, I just realized, like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I staying in this relationship that I don't have to be in? Like, fuck this. So it all reached a breaking point one day. We were just sitting at my house and we started arguing about something stupid. And finally, I just said it. I was like, we're not good for each other. Like, I think we should break up. And I said it very nicely, and she did not like that. She was like, why don't you want to see each other, Austin? Huh? Why are you breaking up with me? You got somebody else lined up already? You cheating on me behind my back? And I was like, no, I just think that we're not good for each other. So, yeah, we're done. And she starts getting angry and like cussing at me and just overall not being very nice. Okay, so finally I'm like, all right, like, enough, like, just leave, please. And I basically nicely kick her out of my house. She didn't like that either. She threw a bunch of my stuff from her car onto my front lawn and then peeled off, drove away. And that was the last I saw of her. Or at least I thought that was the last I was going to see of her. But she popped back into my life a week later. And she does this in the most mysterious way possible. I get a text one morning saying, hey, Austin, please call me ASAP. And it sounded very, very, very urgent. So I call her up and I'm like, hey, what's up? And she goes, Austin, I just need to talk to you in person as soon as possible about this. And I was like, what is it? Just tell me right now. She goes, no, we need to be face to face. Like, I just need someone here with me right now. And I was like, what's going on? Are you okay? And she starts crying. Like, she bursts into tears, crying. So without hesitation, I'm like, all right, I'll be right there. Hang tight. So I immediately go to her house. I walk in, and she's still crying when I get there. And she was home alone. She's just sitting there on her couch crying. And I sit down next to her, and I give her a hug. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? Like, what's up? And she goes, I don't know. I can't handle this breakup. Like, I really want you to stay with me. Like, can you please just reconsider us breaking up? Like, can we stay together? And I was trying to explain this in the nicest way possible because when someone's crying, it's hard to say no to them. But I knew that it wasn't good for us to date. So I was like, listen, like, I just don't think it's a good idea. Like, we're arguing constantly. I'm sorry this is affecting you so much, but like, I'll still be your friend. Like, whenever you need me, I'm here, just not in a boyfriend way. And she was like, well, can you please reconsider that? Like, I really think you need to. Like, she said it real concerning. She's like, I think you need to reconsider it. And her face got super serious. And I was like, I don't think I'm gonna, but I'm sorry. So after we talk for like 30 minutes and she stops crying and I calm her down, I leave because I thought that's all she wanted was just, some comfort because she was sad about our breakup. But right when I leave her house and I go back to my house, I sit down on the couch and I turn on Netflix and I'm just watching something. I get a text message from her, right? Just saying two words that I did not want to see. Just out of nowhere, I'm pregnant. And my whole world just shatters. Now listen, me having a kid one day is not off the table, okay? I have no problem with having a kid when I'm ready. But I was not ready to have a kid at 17 years old. So I just reply to her and say, what? Are you kidding? And she goes, no, please come back. So I have to go back to her house because she couldn't tell me in person at first. And I get there and I walk in and she's crying again. And she goes, that's what I wanted to tell you. Like, I wanted to tell you all along, but I didn't know if I could do it. So I just chickened out the first time. Like, I hope you're not mad at me. And I was like, no, I'm not mad at you. But like, are you being serious? Like, you're actually pregnant? And she was like, yeah, I am. I was like, you took a test and everything? She was like, yeah. Now, obviously, her crying and the way she said it, it sounded extremely convincing. Like, I believed her. But at the same time, it was just unbelievable because we never did anything without protection. And also, like, we only dated for 2 months. Like, it just did not seem possible to have that happen so quickly. So, like, I was just dumbfounded. So she tells me she took a pregnancy test, and I believed her, but I also just didn't believe it at the same time. I was so lost for words. I was basically silent the whole time she told me. So, like, a week goes by after she tells me, right? I just couldn't believe it. I go about my week, and I tell my dad about it, and he's, like, also just dumbfounded. And he's like, well, at least you're making money now, so you can afford it. I was like, yeah, I guess that's one positive thing about it, but I also really don't want a kid right now. And he's like, yeah, I don't blame you. I don't want that either. So fast forward a couple more weeks, she's telling me about like her plan and like how we're going to tell my mom and my dad about it together and how we're going to tell her parents. And I'm just like in shock. Like, I'm not ready for a baby. Could you imagine a small Luna running around right now? Like, I couldn't. So yeah, I was just in complete shock at the thought of that. So a week later, I just still couldn't believe it. And I decided to text her and I was like, listen, can you call me? She was like, yeah. So she calls me up and I'm like, listen, I believe you about you being pregnant, but I think we should do another test just to be sure. And she was like, Austin, I already did one. Like, it said positive, like I'm pregnant. I was like, no, like I want to see this. Like, I want you to do it and then bring the test out to me and show me the results. And she goes, okay, like fine. I was like, all right, cool. She goes, I'll get the test. I'm like, no, don't worry. I'm already on my way. Like, I'll get one. So I go to this pharmacy, I buy one, I go to her house, I hand it to her, and she looks really nervous for some reason. And I'm like, all right, like whatever. She's probably just nervous to see a result again. So she goes in the bathroom, she does it. She brings it out, we wait. Guess what? Guess what this test says after we're done waiting and we get the result? Yeah, not fucking pregnant. Well, it didn't exactly say not fucking pregnant on the test. It was just, negative for pregnancy. But I cannot explain the relief I had. But at the same time, I also had my doubts. So I brought 2 with me, just in case. And she did that one as well. And that one also said negative. So I'm so relieved. And I'm like also confused because, a false positive on a pregnancy test is pretty rare, I feel like. So she's like, no, listen, like I think these are wrong. Like, look at mine. And she goes in her room and she brings out this one. And I look at it and it says positive, like that she's pregnant. And I see the brand of it. And I start looking it up on Google to see if it's like, a trusted brand of pregnancy tests. And I look it up, and it's literally a fake pregnancy test that you can buy that says positive every single time for being pregnant. So she was lying about being pregnant to keep me in a relationship for who knows what reason. I don't know why she would want to do that. Maybe it was for my money. Maybe it was for like, I don't know, to not be alone. I don't know. But like, she had to have known I would have found out some way or another, like over time. So I don't know why she would do that. So of course, after she saw that I Googled it and that it showed that it was a fake pregnancy test, she starts breaking down into tears and begging me to stay and like hear her explanation. And she goes on to explain that she lied to me because she was afraid of losing me. And, she just wanted to like keep me in her life, which makes no fucking sense. Like, I offered to be her friend from the jump. Like, she didn't need to lie about being pregnant to keep me in her life. But I guess it's because she wanted to date me still. But that's just insane. So yeah, I really couldn't take any more of her lies. So I just said goodbye and have a nice life. And I left and I didn't talk to her again because she lied about being pregnant with my kid to keep me in her life, which is scary to me. Like, genuinely scary. And yeah, I told my dad, I was like, hey dad, false alarm. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, it was a fake pregnancy test. She was kind of crazy. He's like, oh, well, congrats. I'm like, yeah, thank you. And I went about my life after that very carefully. Like, definitely one of the top 5 craziest girlfriend stories, in my opinion. Not because she was like mean or like scary, but like she made up the most insane lie to keep me around, and it almost worked. I'm so happy that I bought her another pregnancy test to do because I just really don't know what would have happened if I just believed it and didn't buy that test. Like, I would have wasted months of my time hanging out with her thinking that she was pregnant. But yeah, guys, moral of the story is avoid manipulative people, use protection, be safe, and yeah, just that's it. But yeah, guys, I thought the story time was crazy. I hope you enjoyed this story time. If you did, please leave a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you all later. Peace.
Like what? So they leave me out for the dead, and now they know they're fucked. All my texts are unread, that's how I know she's done. My life changed in a flash.